Well, it's Thursday, so you know what that means. Yeah, I was exhausted. Got late, and but also did tape a Wednesday Comics episode. But there were some severe sound problems. I was in between two different computers, and I got a lot of work to do on that other one because it's going to become the main computer. Because this one, don't know how much life it's got left in it. So I better hurry up and do this one. So, of course, it's going to have to be another episode of Thursday Comics. Because, you know, things happen. So, have quite a few new comics to go through here that I did read and decided, oh, good, at least I have material for this show. And so there's that. But actually, it was more good than bad. But we'll start off with the bad first. Sad to say it, Batman under Zdarsky has just not gotten any better. And that's unfortunate. The failsafe story started off interesting, but where it went and what it resulted in, oh, geez. So he had a multiverse adventure, and now he's back home, and he's broken and defeated and feels bad, and so he goes to his kitty cat to cry to. And is she there for support? What do you think? So there he is getting checked out with his mask still. Doesn't Mr. Terrific know who he is? Oh, well, whatever. And the main thing here is, oh, remember, he lost his hand. So now he doesn't want anyone to know because they'll think less of him or something. I don't know. So he's going to keep a glove on it, you know. And Mr. Terrific will keep his secret. Yeah. So there he goes. And then he has to confront the real problem. He's got severe mental disorders. Now, of course, the idea of the approach to Batman is that he was traumatized as a child. So, of course, there's some amount of disorder there. It's to be expected from the damage that he suffered, but not to this degree. You know, 'cause at this point, Batman needs to be stopped. He can't control himself. It's time to put him in Arkham to retire. He needs help and and that sort of thing. This is terrible. This is quite the business of you want to shock your readers and you didn't see that coming. Well, kind of actually did, but you paint yourself in a corner and you really can't get out. So this is sort of a derivative thing from Grant Morrison, who likes to do, tributes to the weirdness of the Silver Age, primarily just to get this costume back in and all that stuff. And the premise of the idea that Batman would come up with a means by which he can build a defense against telepaths, that's actually good and interesting. I just would not have put it to this extent. I could have thought that he would come up with like equations to repeat over and over again and that kind of thing, so it can block a telepath trying to bore into his mind to find some secret, and that he disciplines his mind that way. But that he creates this other personality to take over in order to confuse and divert, telepaths. And now, oh no, it's out of control. Well, once that happens, I think you're pretty much done as a superhero and stuff. But later on, he's got to prove he's still got it, He's all shaken by the events, which the way it's been portrayed, you could understand. But then he gets his ass handed to him by Penguin Jr. Penguin's kids have taken over the crime business, as he supposedly is dead, but he's not. So there's Batman getting, slapped around by Penguin Jr. here. He ultimately wins the fight, but still, it's not a good look. So he hears about Selina broke out of jail, so he tracks her down, and she reveals to him, well, yeah, Penguin's not dead. He wanted to get away from all this, so he faked his death, and he's living a normal life elsewhere. Which supposedly, not supposedly, it was believed by everybody that Batman had killed the Penguin, and so failsafe was activated because he believed that he had crossed the line and committed murder. Well, gee, Selena, I could have used this information earlier. So all that, she doesn't really know about all that, but she's not, and he's obviously all troubled and messed up, but that's not going to stop her from kicking him in the balls repeatedly and stuff. So, and of course he cries and all that. And she's like, oh, yeah, you and I are all secrets. I love you. Do you? But our lives are, and he tells her, she thought he went off on some space adventure or whatever, and he tries to tell her, he does tell her he went into the multiverse and met another her, and I think I loved her too. I can never stop loving you. Why, he doesn't know, but well, that's the cat suit, I guess. So anyway, he gets back home, and hey, look, the kids are all there, and they're trying to show him a good time. They're glad to see him and stuff, but of course he can't enjoy it. He's all messed up and losing his mind, So, gee, how all this happened? So they get a backup feature explaining how Zur-En created failsafe in order to stop Batman if he ever crossed the line and took a life, which, of course, didn't put in any kind of failsafe to figure out that Batman hadn't killed anybody, but he got fooled by the Penguin faking his own death. So, dan. So, the whole concept is, just wrought with all kinds of troubles and whatnot. This is another one of these. You'll just have to put it away, compartmentalize it in your Zur-En personality, and forget it was ever there. Because, this is bad, and that's unfortunate. So meanwhile, over at the Flash, they say goodbye to the current era that he had with the Jerry Adams team and all that. He's moving on to Green Lanterns, already started there. And then, who is it? Cy Spurrier will take over. And you get a story in here from Cy Spurrier. It's interesting. I don't know where it goes. I'll give it a shot. The comic book does do better than the film. Oh, boy. Jeez. But this is a collection of stories by different people, as you can see here. Jeff Johns shows up, Mark Waid, and then Spurrier's there, So a lot of writer and art teams to give the Flash not a send-off, but a celebration of his 800th issue. I selected pages from these stories. This one, I've seen this story time and time again. Where a bunch of villains talk about how badass the superhero is, in this case, the Wally West Flash. And, but it goes off into absurd elements of how Flash takes down the wizard Mordru, who has really changed his look, and it's really stupid. But anyway, it's basically Flash's God. And how he ultimately defeats him and leaves him shaken and crying. All over him stealing a lollipop from a little girl. Yeah. It's just, hey, let's be kind of silly and stuff, but then you set up things that, kind of mess it up. This one with Impulse wasn't too bad. So it's kind of a throwback to the old days of the Impulse stories. There was a couple of others. There's the Cy Spurrier story, which again, yes, is interesting. So maybe they'll have something there. But I'd heard positive things about Jerry Adams' take on The Flash, and some issues I thought were fairly good. I was never blown away by it. But in this era, it looks way better, But other than that, some of them I thought, I didn't care for it too much. But the fear is that the new team will ruin it. But, we'll have to see. And so, speaking of Jerry Adams, yes, he's moved on to Green Lantern, and so far, so good. It's a restart for Hal Jordan. They've got this set up that he's pretty much in exile from the Green Lantern Corps because they've quarantined his sector, and instead of being reassigned or whatever, he decided to walk away. I missed it that he restored his Green Lantern powers out of sheer will because Green Lantern energy was within the Manhunter suit that this guy had stolen. Or not stolen, he bought it on eBay. you know, and now he's back in action as Green Lantern, and this is what he's always wanted to do, and maybe I should have stayed in the Corps and maybe tried to figure out how to undo that quarantine thing. But anyway, he goes around being a superhero in Coast City, and he takes on the Wrecking Crew, or a reasonable facsimile thereof, since that's a Marvel property. But anyway, the idea, they're going to actually rob a graveyard. And so he scares them all with green ghosts, and they're like, ooh. And so they go and, this old scene, they beg the police to arrest them and all that. It's kind of an old gag, but it works. And, he has a little fun with the return of his powers. Later on, he decides to get back to the camper trailer and have a drink with Kilowog. Don't worry, it's not beer, it's Mountain Dew. He says dew of mountain, and he doesn't like it. So I guess they couldn't get the product placement, That's too bad. But anyway, that's the deal. They're buddies and all that stuff. But he explains about, hey, you fashioned a ring from an old manhunter out of sheer will. You're telling me that someone that can do that can't find a way to make it work down here? Bar flats. Well, language, I don't know what it means, but we're better off not knowing. But anyway, that's the deal. He's kind of feeling sorry for himself, and he's like, but you're like the greatest lantern or whatever, So, meanwhile, he wants Carol back. He will always want Carol back. That's the deal. That's his Lois. That's his Selena. Everybody else pales in comparison. And the same thing is true for Carol, even though she knows he's trouble, damn it. But she's moved on. She's engaged to this guy who seems like a nice enough guy. You're not going to find out, I don't guess, that he's a supervillain in disguise or some crap like that. And actually, he just meets Hal and thinks, he's an okay guy, I think he's all right. But then Hal, of course, is going to move in on your girl, so he's not going to like him for long. And Hal locks him in the bathroom and all that stuff. But he takes a job as a pilot for the Ferris transport plane, but primarily just so he can get to Carol, And, oh no, there's trouble. And boy, is it. Uh-oh, Night Terror arrives. And there's the problem. So the issue was fun. It was pretty good. But here's the bad news. Night Terrors, another stupid event that will last to the end of the summer. And I think it's till fall the comic doesn't get to come back and just be a comic book series. They just ended an event. How eventful are they if it's just every day, with Lazarus Planet. And now they're going to do this thing, which sounds like the plot is just, I guess maybe the ultimate villain will be Dr. Destiny. It's the kind of thing he would do all the time, make them live out their true fears, that sort of thing. So what? But they're all going to have to take a break from their series and face their worst fears. And it's Hal Jordan's worst, because he's the man without fear. So what's his fear, Flying skeletons, I guess. Well, whatever. But should I even bother? I mean, I've taken a liking to this title in only 2 issues, but do I want to pick this little side thing up? They'll probably just give the background on the first page when Green Lantern comes back. But that's the thing. You get a good start here, and then you interrupt it. So, very foolish. But, yeah, they're not listening, so what are you going to do? Meanwhile, Superman is still doing, better than Batman, which is interesting since Batman's the big star. But, after coming back and doing really well until Michael Bendis came along and destroyed it. And then Tom Taylor took over and, oh boy, badly wounded, but seems to be making a comeback of sorts. Of the two, of Action and Superman, Superman is probably a little better just as a Superman title. Action has become the Superman family. Everybody's got a family now. Flash family, Bat family. I guess Wonder Woman family won't be far behind. The Green Lantern Corps, so they already have that. I guess Green Arrow will have a family. the Aqua family, you know, and it clutters it with so many characters. He's got him and Lois have their son. Now you think that would be enough, but no, because they aged him, which was wrong and all that, among other things. But what are you going to do? And Superman's a guest star in his own title. However, Action does have the cool set in the past story, him in the black suit and all that on the farm with John and Lois. And so far, pretty damn good. So there's that. But as far as straightforward title, here we have Superman once again working with Lex Luthor. And is Luthor serious about this? What do you think? Yes, already seen the story, but they're doing it. By the way, Spider-Man totally ripped that off too with Norman Osborn, who's been turned into Lex Luthor years ago. But now he's trying to be a good guy too, becoming the Gold Goblin. Yeah. So meanwhile, Silver Banshee has fallen in love with Jimmy, and oh boy, it's all sweet. And so they give a little backstory to their romance, and they've even moved in together, which they haven't even told each other they love each other. So it's like, at least get there before you cohabitate like that, you know. Yeah, he didn't put a ring on it. That's Jimmy, you know. So anyway, that's the whole story. They're in love. So this is the tragedy of it, that she's been extorted by Lex Luthor's enemies, this cabal, well, really two brothers of mad scientists, manipulating Superman's villains into attacking him, and all that from some nefarious plot. And Jimmy's like, don't hurt her, I love her. And she's like, go away, Jimmy, I don't want to hurt you. Oh, you never could. Meanwhile, Lex is like, oh, God, they just end this. No, wait, there's got to be another way. And so, you know, she needs help. So Superman's got to help her. And Jimmy's like, I got to be there. So they get him a Supercore jetpack. And they go flying, and of course she attacks Superman. But in the end, it all works out. Superman saves her, and she and Jimmy are together again and happy. So Superman goes to confront this freakish mad scientist, and I'm kind of surprised they went this way, especially since he's the villain, and well, I'm sure you can figure it out. But anyway, so that's the villain. And the problem, the weakness of this story is it's repetitive in Luthor trying to be a good guy, but it also gives this absurd backstory that Luthor in his youth tried to be a superhero and he ran afoul of these guys. No. The better story would have been that Luthor screwed them over, stole their technology or something like that, you know, and they want revenge against him. And so he's utilizing Superman to deal with these enemies while he's stuck in prison. And of course, Superman, he has to take them down. They're very dangerous for what they're doing. And so you would have that story, but the one who knows how to take them down for sure is Luthor. So he would be dependent on him either way. The idea of setting it up that at one time Luthor wanted to be a superhero. He had a costume and everything. Don't do that. That's stupid. Luthor's never going to be Superman's good buddy and all that stuff. He's his ultimate villain, and that's just the way it is. Teasing and toying around with that is just stupid, as it is temporary, and they've already done it. They had him on. He was a member of the Justice League for a while there. You know, it's like, no. Just as a plot of forcing them together, fine. Yeah, you could do that. But all this backstory, that's a really bad spot in all of this, I think. So Superman suffered some amount of injury from Silver Banshee, and that his super hearing has yet to recover. I mean, he can hear, but only like a normal person now. But it will recover, but not before Luthor, who needs help immediately, because Luthor's been talking to him because he knows, hey, Superman's super hearing, he can always hear me, so he keeps talking to him, but he doesn't realize. And right at this moment, he's on a double date, him and Lois, with Jimmy and Silver Banshee and her Cybin, her real identity as a rock singer. So they're going to one of her shows, and it's loud. So of course, there's no way for Clark to hear any of this. And uh-oh, well, at least it's not in the shower, Luther. So, will Luther escape? Well, of course he will, but it's not going to go very well for him in the meantime. So, oh man, we'll have to check out next month, but will we? Because I'm thinking they're going to go to Night Terrors too. So, hang in there, Luther. But it's got some good stuff in it. It's just on the face of it as an adventure, it does a lot of right. I'm not a big fan of the art. It's adequate. It's professional and everything. I'm just not for me, really. But again, the failings, the flaws in it are actually pretty big. So that's unfortunate. But still better than Batman as of now. And, well, there's that. Meanwhile, over at Marvel, really the only fairly decent superhero title they have is Moon Knight. Briefly tried to get back to Spider-Man, couldn't do it. It was bad. So this is it, really. And it's stumbled quite a bit, too. But the past two issues are okay. And this one is all right. But it's interesting in my disgust at the Night Terrors event, primarily for being an event, but it's also very repetitive of an old plot. Not that you can't revisit them, but to make it a whole event, it's really stupid. And it's demonstrated here by Moon Knight, who does that nightmare plot of the nightmare tormenting the superhero. And he does it all in one issue. You don't need a whole event to detour your whole line of comics. No, you don't. So, hey, who'd have thunk it? Moon Knight putting all of DC to shame, but, well. So, yeah, that's the whole deal. He experiences one version of a life he could have had after another. And, oh, it all turns into a horror show. Oh, no, his whole family turns into skeletons and whatnot. And he realizes it's not real, but still it's in his face all the time. Another life he could have had with Marlene, I mean. And, oh, no, he still can't accept it. And the reason he can't accept it is because the entity that is tormenting him is trying to give him actually paradise, but it keeps failing. And he says, well, you're just a horrible, violent man. Maybe you want to have fights forever. Here you go. And it's not far from the truth here. And so, so one vision after another. Finally, he gets to the culprit here, which is Morpheus, an old character they had who can, go into your dreams and all that sort of thing, which he did. And he's dying. He's been attacked, and he thought he would try to help one person. So it was Moon Knight. So he said to give him the fantasy life that he always wanted. But the nature of Moon Knight is such that he could never accept happiness. So it didn't work. And so Moon Knight said, well, what happened? Who did this to you? And he tells him, I'll keep that. If you want to check this out, you'll find out. And that's the deal. So there you go. Morpheus. Oh, spoiler, he does die. But, it's comic books. He'll probably be back later. But anyway, he's asking Moon Knight to avenge him, and all that. And there you go. The whole plot of that, of being superheroes being tormented by their worst fears or nightmares or what have you, all done in one issue very quickly. Wrapped up in the only way it can for the most part. And that's that. So, yeah, this is the Marvel Morpheus. Been around for a while. Not to be confused with the Sandman of DC, but Morpheus based on a old myth, so anybody can use the name, really. And obviously not to be confused with Matrix. But so that's the deal. Yeah, see, guy who can control nightmares. So I don't know if it's Dr. Destiny for DC or what have you, but it's the same thing, whoever they use. That's it. Which, again, it does all right here, but you don't make that a massive detour for your entirety of your comic book line. Again. The other offering that Marvel had that I was interested in is, okay, an event of some sort. But it's about this idea of restoring the Ultimate Universe, which I always thought was a mistake. I didn't think it was a good idea to have, Miles Morales come into Peter Parker's universe and all that type of stuff. His story worked so much better in his own world because it was his. But so here we have Brian Hitch, who was the artist on the Ultimates, which with Mark Millar, that was probably the best title that the Ultimate Universe produced. But here Jonathan Hickman is doing this. Well, he tried his hand at the X-Men, but it was taken away from him and ruined. It just became a fashion show that seemingly never ends. But maybe he'll do better here and reviving the Ultimate Universe. So the only survivors of it are the evil Reed Richards, who became the Maker, and he's in prison, and there's a prison break for him. It's interesting, although there's some elements of it where most of the team didn't know where they were going, didn't even know how they were going to get there. I thought they would have a little more information than that. But that's about it. The rest of it's pretty cool. They're going to get swindled, and boy, do they. And of course he escapes. Then Reed Richards is like, oh no, he escaped and we're in trouble now. So T'Challa and his kitty cat patrol they offer some help here, and they know they're in trouble. So the Illuminati meets and they discuss it. And Reed's like, oh boy, we're in trouble if we don't find him. And of course, what's he up to? Well, it's up to no good. But in the meantime, he goes to visit Miles because they're the only survivors of the Ultimate Universe. And this is very similar to the plot of Infinite Crisis, where Alexander Luthor wanted to restore the multiverse before the Crisis on Infinite Earths and on all that. That was his ultimate goal. And some of the parallels here is also with Power Girl and Psycho Pirate, who were the only real survivors. Alexander Luthor, of course, was in that other dimension with the original Superman and Lois and the Superboy Prime and all that. But Psycho Pirate and Power Girl were the only ones who survived all that. But it's just Power Girl forgot, and at one time was believed to be an Atlantean and all that stupid stuff they tried to, when the original story was fine. She survived a dead universe, and that's the way it is. I don't know why they got stupid with it, but they did. But it was an interesting thing about how it's the only people who were left and that sort of thing. And here it repeats here. It's interesting. I'm not up on the details about Maker, and that he apparently only recently remembered where he's from. I think so in this story, where Miles, who doesn't recognize him, but at the same time knew that he's from another universe. So again, I'm not up on Miles Morales' Spider-Man books either. So, but I do know they're from the Ultimate Universe, and he came to offer him to come with him. And Miles is like, no, I'm fine. Well, I'm guessing he didn't do it out of the goodness of his heart. He'll probably go back to get him anyway, whether he likes it or not. So Reed and the gang attack, trying to stop him from whatever he's up to. He's collected a bunch of artifacts and whatnot that help him do whatever, open a portal. It seems to be a portal, but what's he going to do with it and all that? But of course, there's no story if they succeed, so they don't. And then there's an epilogue that shows him seemingly manipulating time at a very specific, very famous origin story of Marvel Comics. But is that his old universe? Or is he manipulating things to make the 616 universe like the Ultimate Universe? Maybe that's his plan, rather than just, recreating his universe, which, yeah, you would think that would be a lot harder to do, but Alexander Luthor almost did it. So, but the artwork, of course, is absolutely magnificent, and it's intriguing, and so I'm interested. It's very expensive, but that's, I think there's some spinoffs and whatnot. I've no interest. I know they'll screw those up, but the main series of Ultimate Invasion, I'm in for. So there you go. Finally, a second title besides Moon Knight of Marvel that has me interested. So I will follow this one, and we'll see where it goes. So finally, I saved the best for last. Can you guess what it is? Yeah, the best superhero title, certainly from the mainstream of DC and Marvel. In this case, DC remains world's finest. So they're continuing on with the new super duper Amazo, new Mazo in this title, who seems to be the main bad. And it's just a full on, it's practically a Justice League title at this point. And you get, and of course, Dan Mora's art is just amazing. And this is a good scene of the Flash saving Robin. And it's just really, it's just good. That's all. It's funny how when a comic's really good, there's not a lot to talk about. And I don't really want to get into much of the story because I think people should pick it up. I don't know what it's doing sales wise. I'm sure the name Mark Waid turns a lot of people away. And I perfectly understand that due to his really shameful behavior over the past years. But unlike a lot of those crappy people, he actually does have some skill. And he's done the best superhero story at the moment. So there's new Mazo. Stupid mad scientist decided to make him super duper pooper scooper more than super pooper super scooper. You get the idea. And he's so powerful that he just absorbs his brain power and turns all these super duper pooper scooper scientists into his slaves. So a great going scientist. So he also collects Toy Man, Dr. Cyber, and Bertram Larvan. Hey, Bert. And then Oliver Queen, which he was getting all the great minds to work for him to create his robot army and stuff like that. And Batman. So he collected all these people, but not. I'm sorry, go on. He's like, hey, how come Bruce Wayne wasn't it? You know. Yeah, you didn't measure up, I guess. So you get some Hawkman fighting Superman robots. It's good. Even Killix is in there, and you get a good battle there. And the threat is pretty severe. I mean, there's a scene there where it looks like the robots have already they killed a bunch of people by melting them down into some kind of soup that they're going to turn into some kind of new robots or what have you. I mean, so the stakes are pretty bad. So they managed to free Superman and protect, get him away from the kryptonite to regain his strength so they can break out. And they reunite with the other Justice League members, and Batman starts setting up plans and whatnot. Green Lantern goes off. Wonder Woman and Robin take off on a mission, so on and so forth. And finally, we get here where T.O. Morrow, they confront him, the other robotics expert, and he basically tells them there's no hope. It's hopeless. He says, that's nice. Yeah. And it looks bad, and it ends bad, where Batman seems to slip up at the end, and we'll have to tune in for the next exciting issue. Although, I don't know if there's a World's Finest Night Terrors. God, that's probably what there probably is. So it'll be a while for the next one. What stupidity! They should just use the templates of this title and expand that and learn from it, from all the rest. Just scrap everything else. And this world depicted here, this should be your line of DC Comics. And you'd be in a much better place. Yes. So, but anyway, enjoy it while it lasts. They are doing Shazam at the moment, but I think they will move on from this and concentrate more on that and perhaps another title later. And that'll be sad, because I don't know if they got anybody who can pick up the baton and carry on. But hopefully someone will surprise us when that happens. But it does remain the absolute best. So there you go. World's Finest. Still World's Finest. All right. Thank you for spending some time with me as I talked about these comics. And we'll do it again, hopefully next Wednesday. But in that neck of the woods. Yeah, we'll do that then.